Yeah, we talked about earlier that you should give people a fair chance to get to know them and not just looking for the next swipe, the next match, the next girl, the next guy, whatever, the next opportunity. But you should also give people a chance. But the other side of the coin could be that people are too scared, to be alone, especially because the competition is so high. More people are getting lonely. And that could be a factor that people just want to settle. Some people want to settle. What's your take?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Like I know people who are like this. They have, like there are some people who just seemingly cannot not be in a relationship. That's how I describe it. Like
that used to be me.
There's just something about it. Like there's no question that being in a good relationship, I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world, and there's safety and there's support system. But I can also imagine that it's for some of those reasons, it can be scary, very sort of frightening to people. The idea just of not being in a relationship, or even if they feel like this, they're sort of in a dead end relationship and it's just not right for them anymore. They might actually be held back by their fear of being alone, even if it's only temporary. But I also notice a lot of these people who are sort of very dependent upon relationships, like when they finally do become single, they're not single for very long. Like it's almost like they would rather jump into another sort of half-assed relationship than just really. So exactly, it's the other side, disinterest and lack of investment in trying to get to know people. But of course, the other side of the coin is that some people are too afraid of sort of putting themselves out there and really exploring that freedom because they need the comfort of a relationship.
Yeah, true. I like what you say that then they might be into a relationship and it ends, and then a few months after they are back in a new relationship. So they haven't really discovered who they are, because you're a new person every time you break up. You've learned something, you've processed, you've learned what you don't want to get into again, and what you do. You get a better understanding about yourself. That's what I've been feeling every time I've ended a relationship, that I couldn't jump into the next relationship. But I see a lot of people do that. And I'm always wondering wouldn't it be smarter to just relax, not just jump into the next new thing, I think. But I definitely agree that a lot of people are too scared to be single. And that comes into place when you hear people say, oh, shouldn't you get a girlfriend or get into a relationship? Like they're so afraid of it that they might be in their relationship themselves, but they're they're projecting onto you, like, shouldn't you find a girlfriend? Like,
it might be. Excuse me. Sometimes it might be a reflection of the people who are asking, because they themselves are the ones that cannot see. They could not see themselves in your position, and actually being content with not being in a relationship, because maybe their identities, for better or worse, is tied up into a relationship to another person. They can't imagine themselves being alone like that, so they couldn't imagine someone else being sort of happy being in that position, even temporarily. And if we come back to the experience of females, maybe in the dating world, once those 30 plus years, I also think the pressure on women in from 30 to 40 is because that's when sort of maybe their family is and their grandparents is so are we gonna have grandchildren, but especially women, because they can't just.
When is your wedding?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one. But and especially because with women, they don't really. They do have an internal timetable. If they want to have children, biological children, they need to have, and we have talked about this before. So I can imagine it can be really brutal, the experience for them. So there might also be external pressures that would lead them to sort of cling on to relationships and jump quickly from one to the next, because there is a lot of pressure that might not exist for a dude at that point in time, but it doesn't mean that pressure also doesn't exist for dudes.
I think it's all a strange thing, like dating, and it's a complicated process because it's not easy. It's a big decision. Who do you want to spend your life with, right? I think we also judge other people's relationships, but a relationship should just make sense for the two who are in the relationship, right? But also, I don't know. The goal of it in itself, to find a girl or getting into a relationship, it's not a goal in itself. You need to make it the right one that fits for you. And also sometimes you can have projects or things you're working on that actually a relationship will damage that process some sort of way. Have you experienced that?
If you have a very particular type of idea of where it is your life is going, like if you have to meet someone, you have to start a relationship with them. Like you really have to be on the same page, and it really has to be clear up front that like this is the type of life I am living as of this moment. If you're looking, for example, if you're looking to start a family right here and now, or like within the next year, and I'm not, like it has to be very clear that like that's not on the table for me, and maybe that's an indicator that we're not meant to be together at this point. But yeah, as you said, it's a very it's a complicated thing, because like there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of ways you can sort of mix and match and explore different types of relationships with people, and every relationship is different because every person is different. Yeah, and it's also worth remembering that people are different. Some people like being independent. Some people like being codependent and being in a relationship. And there are some people that just are in relationships that are, in spite being very independent, like they really gel with someone else who's independent, and then they have like the classic interdependent relationship where it works both ways. Like they're in a relationship and they love that relationship, but they don't need it. I use this phrase, like they want it more than they need it. Things are great when you want something more than you need it. Like if you want the relationship you're in more than you need to be in a relationship because you're afraid of the opposite, then that's where you're going.
Yeah. And actually, if you need a relationship that bad, you're starting a relationship on the totally wrong terms here.
Yeah,
you're scared of being alone. That's the worst.
Yeah, you might settle for something that's really not that great of a
Exactly.